Washington Middle School definitely has some behavioral issues. Some reasons why I think the teachers and the students are experiencing this is due to the school being in a troubled area. It was mentioned that it was a high risk school, usually, not always, with high risk schools. It's low income, which results in a lower economic status. Um, some known things about lower economic statuses is the kids are raised in chaotic lifestyles. For example, they're seeing violence outside of the home, stealing, murders, stabbings, etc. These kids are not sure when they're going to get their next meal. Nothing's really consistent. So they're just faced with a lot of not ideal situations. These factors combined define the research behind the ACE questionnaire. Toxic stress at home or outside of school can spill over into, the school zone, which is known to be the safe zone. This toxic stress can lead to explosive behaviors in children. They're just reflecting the behavior that they are displaying in school is just a result of what they're seeing in the real world, which is, in a defensive. Their guard is always up and they're trying to protect themselves. And a lot of them don't realize that it's bad or inappropriate behavior. It's normal to them. So they don't really understand or know better. So I think that's a lot of the reasons why the school is experiencing these issues. Some ideas, the ideas that I've just mentioned also lead to, the cultural stereotypes. They act out because they're being stereotyped of living in bad areas. When you're told that you're bad all the time, you just want to continue to be bad. And so it just creates this vicious cycle and it never ends. Also, another point, I think teachers know that they're teaching in, these high-risk schools. So I feel like maybe possibly the teachers are feeding into the behavior. They see the bad behavior. And then, and it could be maybe kind of minor, but they over exaggerate it, and it multiplies in their mind, so they can only fixate on the bad. Some ways I would try to encourage culture in the school is, for one, the school definitely needs some clear boundaries and expectations of the children laid out at the beginning of the year. I want to have some basic concepts outlined, what I expect, just a few simple ones, and then, work together to establish the rules of the classroom. So the point, I want them to feel a part of the classroom, and their opinions and thoughts matter. And I think that would help them feel safe as well in the classroom, as if they had a say in what rules and what was allowed and what was and was not allowed in school. Definitely want to establish the no tolerance policy. You're not allowed to not do your homework or act out by punching a kid or stabbing them or hurting a teacher or cussing, whatever that may be. You're not allowed to do that, but because of the ACEs, allow them to know that I understand why, those kids are acting out. So it's not an excuse. Your surroundings, your culture is not an excuse for your crappy behavior. And that we need to educate them on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Clearly, they're not being taught, that it's not okay to steal and it's not okay to hurt people. So I feel like educating them is going to be the most important part, educating them on the rights and wrongs. I want the rules to be simple and easy to follow. And they should be, because we're establishing them together. So the kids shouldn't have any issues following the rules if they're helping establish them. But if they choose not to follow those simple rules, then they need to know that there is consequences to their actions. Which is one of the reasons why the district itself, if they don't already have a policy or a student handbook, they need to create one. And there needs to be clear, defined consequences of actions that are unacceptable, so that the kids know from the beginning that if they do this, then this will happen. And then to follow through with that. We need to follow through with, if you do this, this is going to happen, and it will happen. And I think a lot of the issues with low-income families, even if they do come from parents that do care, they're busy. They're always working. They might have 2 or 3 jobs, and those kids are not necessarily being neglected, but they're not getting the attention that they need, or the follow-through with, you didn't do your homework, well, now you can't go out and play with your friends. Well, that can't happen if the mom or dad aren't home to supervise that this is being done. So it's important that the school help establish the follow-through on their end. I also think that the school should probably implement, required ACE testing and suggest or offer counseling for those kids that have those high ACE scores. These kids are acting out because that's what they're used to. We need to establish the rules and boundaries and clear, this is not okay and this is okay behavior, and talking about them. We can't continue to push things under the rug and ignore them. We definitely need to look things straight in the eyes and, define it and understand it and not allow it, but talk about it. It needs to be talked about. The district needs to be able to properly staff the classrooms. If there's one teacher in a room full of 35 kids, the teacher's going to get overruled and overrun, even if he or she has clear rules and expectations of her students. There's always going to be someone that gets the class riled up and distracts them from their learning. So it's important that the classrooms are staffed appropriately and that the staff is supported. They need proper training. I feel like there needs to be healthcare services provided. So along the lines of counseling. So, these kids, if they have high ACE scores, they need the guidance and the services in order to get better and become better. Another thing I think would help the staff is providing incentives for them to stay. Obviously, working with high-risk children, it's challenging, and pay for teachers is not great. And so when you feel undervalued, you don't want to work as hard, and then you don't want to follow through with things, and it motivates teachers to want to do better if there's better incentives for them. And then I feel like if there's better incentives and better staffing, then there's more consistency. And it's super important for kids of all ages, even for myself as an adult, to have the consistency in the schedule, consistency with seeing the same people every day, building those bonds with people. You might only need one person in your life that can make all the world a difference, that really clicks with you and provides you with knowledge of how to be a better person, but it only takes that one person. So the consistency, following the rules, and having the consistent teachers, this is important. Ways to get them to examine their culture, I would, I want to ask them some questions. What kind of environment do they want to be in? Do they think that it fosters learning? I want to get them involved. So whether that's decorating the classroom for holidays, special local events that are happening, decorating for those, attending those. I want them to have pride in their school and their classroom. Which, when you have pride in something, you want to take care of it, which would result in, teachers being treated better, materials lasting longer, it would just domino effect if they just could have pride in the things that in school and in themselves. If they knew they could evoke change, I think that they would. It's powerful, knowing that you have the power to make those changes. The lesson plan that I have is about tapestry. The name of the lesson is A Tapestry of Multicultural Diversity. So pretty much what they do is they're examining photos. This specific lesson is geared for the culture of New York, so seeing all the different types of people and the different streets and all of these different people and things that are around their culture. So anyway, they engage in discussions about the photos and then reflect on these viewings of the culture by choosing one of the 4 prompts that are in the lesson plan. For me, I would change this lesson plan just ever so slightly by using photos of the surrounding area, so the local culture. So for this with Washington, there's the falls, depending on where you are, the skyscrapers, the trees, the people, the different religions, and just all of that, all these photos, and then use those to examine the culture. I think it would help them get involved and more interested in the project if they knew that it was their own local people. Another thing that I would like to add to this lesson plan I think I'd change one of the prompts. I think there are a lot of visual ways to describe your culture, whether it's a collage or, a music choice song. I think that would be cool, how you feel about your culture and that song representing that. And then writing a little tidbit up about why that song reflects, or that collage, why you put that collage together, and then present it to the class. This lesson plan addresses Common Core English Language Arts, SL 11 to 12, 1C, which is propel conversations by posing and responding to questions that probe reasoning and evidence, ensure hearing for a full range of positions on a topic or issue, clarify, verify, or challenge ideas and inclusions, and promote divergent and creative perspectives. Um, the other standard that I believe it matches is the social studies state standard, D2 GO 5.9 through 12, which states they are evaluating how political and economic decisions throughout time have influenced culture and environmental characteristics of various places and regions. Another thing that they could do to create a group project where they assess a different culture from another country and provide details about their food, the language they speak, the holidays and traditions they practice, and then determine what things have affected the culture, if any, and has it changed the culture over the years. Just get some thinking about things. So this is the things that I would do to help Washington Middle School.